Thanks everyone for joining us on time for today's webinar. And today's webinar is, of course, very important and crucial because I'm sure all of you have your dream companies that you want to work for. And more often than not, in all the dream companies, we often see names like Amazon, the FANG companies, so to say. But that is not why this webinar is important. This webinar is important because of the person who's currently today going to be sharing her story. And it is a very interesting and important story that we are having. So we are joined by Jayalakshmi Swaminathan, and I'll take a quick minute to introduce Jayalakshmi Swaminathan, the program manager at Amazon Ads, a beautiful, humble person altogether, but a person who calls herself as an Amazonian. And we will dissect this term Amazonian because, Amazonian also means a warrior woman, which she indeed is. And she calls Amazon her second home. But that's not it. In her entire in her entire career at Amazon, she's actually learned the basics of advertising from the scratch to launching new programs and teams all over. So kudos to you for that, doing it so well, Jayalakshmi. She's developed solutions to critical business problems. And what is very interesting about Jayalakshmi's story is she was an HR professional who pivoted her career into marketing, made an impeccable track record into marketing, and maybe if we are able to, let the cat out of the bag, maybe we can also disclose that there's something new and interesting on the horizons as well, maybe in the form of entrepreneurship. She's been at the forefront of Amazon Ads. Her role involves in devising the go-to-market strategy for her clients and the strategic marketing solutions with a focused understanding of customer needs. That's always been Jayalakshmi's superb forte altogether. She's ensured through her profile that she enhances the Amazon customer experience by making sure that she delivers, collaborates, identifies the process gaps all over, so much so that right now she's developed a niche altogether in strategic program planning. Of course, Jayalakshmi will be correcting me. She's been a data security lead as well, where she's designed and implemented robust security programs to ensure that sensitive information as well. So of course I can go on and on with a preface of Jayalakshmi, but I think I'll let you spearhead the conversation. Please tell us a little bit more about yourself before we make a segue into the entire discussion. Over to you, Jaya.
Yeah, thank you, Neeraja. So humble of you to keep on praising me. So I felt kind of overwhelmed with all that you're telling about me. But yeah, thank you. And thanks everyone for joining this webinar. And hi to you all. I'm joining a webinar with Soil after, I think, 7 years, 6, 7 years plus, I think 8 years plus I'm joining. So 15 is when I moved out of Soil. I did my HRLP program with Soil. Prior to that, I was an engineer and I was a fresher when I came into Soil, and I did not have prior work experience, but Soil taught me a lot of new things about industry exposure. It gave me new programs and projects to work on. I was also a research assistant there while I was doing my PGPX program. And then post that, I joined from Soil through campus placement into a telecom company called Aircel. It does not exist today. So the company, I joined as a management trainee from Soil. And there I had a gamut of all sort of experiences, starting from not just HR, but I was put into sales and marketing and finance and supply chain and business verticals. And then I was also put into HR. So that was my 1 year stint there. And then post that, I became a HR assistant manager with Aircel. I did a couple of programs there. And then I think I had a lot of learning because the company was going through bankruptcy and liquidation and everything. So as a HR, I had a lot of things to learn with employee wellness, employee grievances, how to handle layoffs and all of those things. So a lot of learning into HR, and then I pivoted myself to Amazon, where I joined as a digital marketer. So I had no experience in digital marketing back then. So I did a couple of courses on Google Ads and all that. So then I joined there, and then rest is history. So I've been there with Amazon for, I think I just completed 6 years last week or so with Amazon. So I'd done multiple roles here. I joined as an account manager. I managed some of the important advertising accounts for Amazon's US business. Then I did one couple of things for the UK business. Then from there, I pivoted into another role on data security, which was again completely new to me. And then I worked there as a data security lead, brought in a lot of security programs to safeguard, customer data and all of that. And then I took up, then I grew there as a program manager. Then I continue to be as a program manager for a couple of years now, and I'm taking up newer programs into so the entire horizon of Amazon. So I work from east to west with everybody from the Japan to the US. So that's how much exposure that this space has given me. But yeah, a lot of gratitude I have towards Soil because that's where my foundation was laid. So I totally understood what industry is, what market is, and everything from Soil. And after which my entire journey into corporate world has begun, and now it's going on pretty well. Yeah. So that's pretty much about how I'd traveled so far.
That's very interesting, and this just reminded me of an anecdote where we were just trying to connect with you, but my colleague thought because you talked about your international clientele, my
Yeah.
colleague was under the impression that you are in the US because there was some
Okay.
post of yours which made us believe that, and then I clarified. I said no, like you are in Bangalore.
I'm here very much in Bangalore. We keep traveling, but put up in Bangalore. Yeah.
Absolutely. Now, of course, a very important question, you beautifully explained your journey from Aircel all the way coming over here and joining Amazon. But just let us know a little bit more because there is an aspiration that everyone has. The FANG companies, like I said, is a dream sort of a subset of companies that everybody really wants to apply for. And what was your go-to mantra? How did you pivot your career from Aircel, literally being a jack of everything, but over here getting your specialization into an area which you probably were oblivious
Yeah.
about? Of course, you picked up those skill sets. So tell us a
Yeah.
little bit about that journey before we probably break it for students, how they can also have a very
Sure.
similar career progression.
Sure. Yeah. So, like I said, while I was put into multiple different segments as a management trainee in Aircel, although I studied HR and I worked in there, I always had an inclination towards what marketing was doing with that company because I found the amount of analytical work that they did was pretty interesting because it was directly impacting the customer. So, and it was directly playing on the customer's mindset as well as on the revenue sheets. So this was pretty interesting for me. And while I was looking out for job outside of Aircel, so I wanted to learn newer skills. So that's when, at that time, like 6 years ago, performance marketing was kind of picking up slowly at pace and all that. So I learned about Google AdWords and Google marketing strategies and all of those things. So that helped me, apply to even Amazon because otherwise I had no idea of what they'll be doing or what is even performance marketing about. So there I learned a couple of courses. I'll definitely urge that people can go through, whoever is interested in marketing can go through these courses because they are free of cost and it's available on the internet. Today, there are multiple other courses that are also available in addition to the Google Ads courses that you can do. There are also Amazon Ads courses, which is available for free. So all of these things people can go through if they have an interest into performance marketing per se. This will give them an edge over the other candidates, certainly, because it did for me. And then I was able to answer some of the questions or answer how I could apply it to business and all of that, typically how Amazon would interview us. So I was able to answer, although I did not have any exposure to it. So it helped me crack an interview with Amazon. But then after that, the learning was quite steep. So I had to start from scratch. So I had nothing that I'd learned before to apply in there. So it was all completely new. And but the amount of materials that's available over the internet and within the company as well was exhaustive enough that it kept me like full on board that I could constantly keep on learning and upgrading myself. So that's when I was able to contribute as a account manager there, and I even became a mentor in like less than 8-9 months time of joining Amazon, I became a mentor to people. So that was like a win because we were new to that space and it was crackable. And that's where the motivation started. So I just wanted to try if I liked that space, but I really enjoyed and I started enjoying it. So I wanted to continue and explore more in that arena as to how I am impacting a customer's lifespan rather as well as on the balance sheet. How am I doing both of those things? So this was visible, and especially with a company size like Amazon, the numbers were massive enough for me to start with. It was like millions of dollars, which we've never seen before in any balance sheet before. So it was quite motivating to see that, oh, okay, my work is kind of impacting this business size and all that. So that's where the entire spark came into picture. I would genuinely say that it's very much about what we like, and if our heart says, okay, let's do it, I think everybody should do it because we just have one career, one life, and we should experiment and keep doing what we like. And once I personally believe that if we like doing what we do, we'll definitely succeed, even though it's a completely new field to be in.
Absolutely. I think truly well encapsulated. And we are thrown with a lot of these questions, like, your career is exemplifying the kind of changes and upskilling. Of course, like you said that, you took up these short-term courses to upskill yourself. You've
Right,
also taken long-term courses, like your experience with strategic digital marketing course. So
right,
that learning is something that you never stop doing, which I think is so inspiring and impeccable. Now there are, of course, like like we were even sharing with you, we have both these campuses, the PGDM, PGPM, the PGDM second year, the PGPM, that's your flagship program that you did back
right.
then. They're going to be sitting for their placements, say in the next 90 days. So, of course, one thing is the campus placement. So we'd love to hear from you, considering it is a career talk series also that we're having. So what are the do's and don'ts, considering you've been at Amazon for 6 years? You would have seen hiring, you would have seen firing. So tell us, acquaint us a little bit about the process, that what is the industry wanting from the current batch students at the moment? What are the expectations that people are having from them, particularly both to crack, the on-campus jobs, as well as if probably they're trying to break the ice, network themselves. Because of course, Aircel, you said, was a campus placement where you learned a
Right.
lot, but Amazon was all your doing and understanding how well you leverage your network. So tell us a
Right.
little bit about that, so that they can also have a to-do list.
Yeah, yeah, certainly. Yeah. So the very first thing, as you rightly pointed out, while we look out for a job outside of campus is through networking. Even till today, it stands extremely true because in spite of us having like 9 to 10 years of experience, unless we don't have that enough networking exposure within our circle, it's quite a task in spite of us having this experience to crack a job at that level also. So it's very important that people are active on LinkedIn. There's something that we keep on telling folks who are looking out for interesting jobs or jobs in the niche markets and all that is stay active on LinkedIn, post about things that you understand and post about things that you're curious about and all that. So eventually that picks up pace and then people will start noticing you, and getting a call directly from a HR of a company is much more amicable or easier through a platform like LinkedIn because you get noticed, because 99% of the people don't do that. So they only look out for applying for jobs and then going through Naukri or LinkedIn and then taking up that route. But having contacts in that particular company will help to some extent. But in addition, your profile is kind of scanned and viewed by the HRs of these companies. And if they get to find out that somebody who's like out of college and fresh and everything, but still has great perspective about what this program is all about, what this industry is all about, and everything, then their eyes are definitely on such folks. And that's definitely one thing that people should take into consideration while they look out for jobs into larger organization, anything per se. So that's one thing. Specifically, if you have to ask me what works well for giants like Amazon, right? So there's one key secret mantra that everybody follows here while hiring is customer obsession. So Amazon lives and breathes by that entire principle called customer obsession. So if people are able to culminate stories and put up situations in a way that they are able to make the hiring manager or the people in that loop understand how much customer obsessed they are as people, then there's nothing stopping them. That's the secret to cracking interviews on companies of this size. This goes true with Google as well. So, wherein people look forward to see that because these companies prioritize customer as a king, right? So, except for excluding the fact that there are multiple other things that they look into, but the basic thing for anybody who joins out from a college and everything is how obsessed are you about solving problems for the customer, and how much can you go for this customer and then make sure that his life is sorted and all that. So those things are like a key ingredient towards cracking an interview, right? So there are two basic things that generally goes into check whenever somebody takes up an interview. So I also pick up interviews for some of the roles on Amazon. So what we check for is two things. One, our major consideration is on the cultural fit. So that's the very first thing that we kind of check. Even technical skills are something that we believe that they can be trained and tuned, but cultural fit is something that people need to bring in within themselves. And just to not fancy about all of those things, there are just two things that we look at when you say cultural fit. One is what will you contribute as a person to Amazon as a company or any company per se, and what in return will you want to learn from this company? Because everybody understands, right? Learning is a continuous process, and you cannot give everything that you have. Even in spite of you giving everything that you have, the company's growth state is so huge that you will have to learn a lot of these things before you implement some of the strategies to grow and all that. So some folks tend to be over smart, and they keep saying that they'll only want to contribute that they've learned that this and everything. But the key that everybody looks at, or people want to understand, is what would you want to learn from an organization of this size, or from a company of this size, or from a multinational player? What do you want to learn from this company? So the curiosity for a person to learn more actually is important for us to understand whether they're culturally fit or not, because here consistently we are given modules to equip ourselves based on industry standards and everything. This is true for even people who are working at senior levels here. Every now and then there are things that comes up for us for a learning module, and there are exams that we have to give even for us to sustain in the job. So these things are mandatory. So somebody who has an urge to learn and their willingness to contribute is what will determine the cultural fit for Amazon. So that's pretty much how it looks like. It will be pretty much same for any larger company that they want to apply as well, and even any smaller company as well. They all want people to learn and equip themselves more. So that's one thing. If we have to go in detail, right, about specifically for a tech giant, what they are looking at a managerial role or at a managerial level, the questions are generally at behavioral questions is what's been asked. So when I say behavioral questions, so for Amazon, there's something called leadership principles. So we have about 15 leadership principles, and anybody who is applying for a company like an Amazon or a Google, there are principles that they follow, and they believe, and the organization runs on these principles. So it's better that they go through what are the principles are, and what is it that they can answer based on that principle. So let's say I'll give an example. There can be a question on, the question might look very simple, but what they'll expect out of you is what matters. So the question might be like, in your previous organization, can you give us an example of a difficult situation that you had handled, or a critical task that you had to complete within tight deadlines? So something like this. So some behavioral question, which is quite simply put, the expectation from a person opposite to it, or the expectation from an interviewer, is that they answer the question in a star format. Star is basically situation, task, action, and result. So you'll have to explain what was the problem, and what is the task that you had to do, what all actions that you took to complete the task, and what was the result. This is, however crisp and clear you are at this level, that's when you kind of crack interviews, because people don't want unclear answers, and people don't want any beating around the bush and all that. There's a lot of people who can talk a lot of things, but all that's expected is clarity of thought in terms of, it could be even a very, very simple narrative that I did A, B, C, and D happened. That's it. Even that will do. That will give them a clarity that, okay, this person is able to articulate what he had done or what she had done in a very specific format, so that they will be able to do that in the future as well while they work in the job. So that's something that they pick up from the interview. So, and also when they explain all of these, right, uh, that's like a key kind of a tip or something that people can take up is, companies expect data and matrices to be added while it's been explained, right? So let's say I solved problem A, and this is the revenue that I impacted. X is the revenue that I impacted, or this is the cost cutting that I had done, or because of my action, this is what happened to the organization. They saved so and so many resources, cost, and they'd increased the revenue from X to Y. And these are the ways in which people want numbers to flow through. That's when they'll be able to understand your potential or your ability to uh, you know work in that particular role. So specifically when it comes to management professionals, this is what is looked at. They want people to talk with data and matrices and not just give up stories. So anybody who is preparing for any interview of any sort, please be prepared with some data or matrices. Even from your internship experiences, they can pick up some matrices and data points, and they can add it together. So that will look like they have had really done impactful work in the previous organizational space or wherever they'd been before. I understand that for many people, if they are freshers, they wouldn't have any such data or matrices to talk about. For those people, they can look at adding inputs from their internship, and if they have done a small project, what has been their impact of that particular project, and so on and so forth. They could pick up some numbers which will authenticate that, okay, this person is capable enough to talk data. So that's what is like the primary expectation. And there's one important thing that people kind of forget when they do interviews, right? They keep on saying, we as a team, we did that, we did this, we went from A to B, our team was able to do that and do this. So just a tip that please don't use we. Everybody expects that what you did, because it's your space to sell yourself during an interview, and that's like a major mistake that most people do. And when they say we, the interviewer is unable to understand whether this person had any contribution or was just part of a team and was just an observer. So we'll not be able to make that out whether they've done anything or not. So when they say that as a part of the team I'd work, but I did ABC to impact the business in such a manner. So that way they get a confidence that, okay, you worked as a part of a team, which is true. And then additionally, your contribution towards business was because you did ABC, and then this is what happened. So in such a manner, when people are able to explain or sell themselves, if I had to put it the right way, that is when it hits the crack, and then they're able to easily clear interviews. So clearing interviews is actually simple, just that many people don't understand the knack of doing it. So they kind of they want to be so nice, and then they'll say that my team did that and I did this, and everybody, we did as a team and all that. So all that doesn't work, and then we want to specifically understand what you did as a person in that particular array of space and all that. I think one last point with which I'll kind of wrap it up is I we always encourage people to talk about failures. There is always a myth or a misconception that talking about failures will not land you a job. Actually, it's not. In fact, it might land you a job in a much better space, because all that people want to understand is what was the process and what did you do through this. And success or failure is like the end result, and everybody fails, and it's not that we are always successful in whatever we do. So it's just that whatever they are able to articulate, if they're able to articulate in a star format, if the result is a failure, it's good. What did they learn from it is where they'll sum it up, and then it's over. In fact, people who accept failures end up cracking jobs quite easily, because they have the ability to resilient, and then they come back and then do things, and they're able to agree to the fact that it's a failure and they learn from it. So such things genuinely matter when people prepare for interviews. So I think these are some basic tips that people can use, and it'll help them in a long run, certainly.
Absolutely. I think many takeaways. I'm sure everyone's jotting them down, like, the STAR framework, which is so important, making it data oriented and crisp. You, of course, beautifully dissected the fact that, how maybe at the beginning when you were trying to join Amazon and make that segue from Aircel to Amazon, you did your performance marketing. But a lot of times what happens is that people are aware that they have to upskill themselves. But right now it's like, the problem of many to select from. So what are the
Yeah.
right pick of courses, and you're a veteran when it comes to marketing. You know it in and out. You've actually seen that, and of course, like, your entire advice about how you need to be customer focused. That's how Google and Amazon essentially work, right? And that's something which is really a priority. So if there is a student right now in say the next 90 days sits for the placement week and is looking at cracking some of these marketing roles in and around either with the tech giants or non-tech giants, what are the typical courses that you will definitely advise them in no particular order, that that can be their go-to tools to upskill themselves? Anything particular, any niche thing, particularly in marketing? Now the buzzword is generative AI. How you're leveraging generative AI in marketing,
Yeah.
and so much on that it's a little overwhelming a lot of times for a lot of us. So please help us dissect, that laundry list of courses that people can definitely, probably go ahead and do besides, of course, their program that they're currently pursuing.
Certainly. Yeah. So, as you rightly pointed out, right, the market is so huge, and likewise, the number of courses that's available is also plenty. With generative AI coming into picture, I'm very sure that everybody is having a course on generative AI, and everybody has something to offer. I mean, just to be on a very competitive edge, I will generally urge that people take up courses from organizations of sizes that matter, because everybody has a course to offer. So let's say Meta has a course, even Coursera runs courses, Uplearns has courses, and all that. So if, say, for example, if people are able to add in a certification that's of value into their resume, it will be from places or companies of sorts. So, for example, recently I happened to guide somebody who is doing a course from Harvard on generative AI with marketing. So, courses of that edge will definitely give them not just an understanding or an advantage, but it will also provide them that competitive advantage when 10 people are sitting for an interview, and then a person scans the resume, and I get to see that somebody has done a course from Harvard on generative AI in marketing. So that definitely speaks volume about who they are as a person and all that. So it's not at all. I wouldn't say that go doing courses from these course websites like Coursera or Uplearns or whatever it is, right? I wouldn't say that it's not good or anything. Just that since we are in that run now, or we are in that spree now to find the right job for us, to be really frank, it's a very competitive space, and to stand out of competition, we need huge brand names to support us. So let's say anybody who has done anything from a larger organization or from a larger college per se or so will definitely carry more value. So I'm not sure if I can pick any names of courses, but I find that recently people are doing some courses from Yale and Harvard, which really helps. And the bigger companies also have courses. So, for example, Amazon has its own courses on understanding the entire digital marketing space. So people can do those courses, they get certification, they can add it across as a part of their whatever they've upgraded themselves. Similarly, Google also does. So you can learn these courses, which will add value to your resume, to be genuinely frank. And these things will help them because they can also take the interview in that direction, right? So if they are able to put these things on paper or on their resume, definitely the interviewer will ask what were your insights or what were your learning from these courses. And in that direction, if they're very clear of what they have learned, they can actually take the interview in the direction that they would want to. And it will be a win for them. So that's the reason, instead of going for every course that's available in the market, picking the big names will definitely help them to kind of have that edge over the others.
Absolutely. I think even though you kind of answered this question, but we also have that in the Q&A section typically,
Okay.
that what are some of the roles that, probably you see people getting hired in and around in your team. So especially when someone is coming from a B school like, the School of Inspired Leadership, what are the typical roles that they can start targeting? Because, then it'll be focused networking that they're trying to do via LinkedIn or other such professional networking platforms. So could you essentially just let us know about, a few typical roles that you see that, yes, Amazon keeps on hiring every now and then, where our students can also, start
Yeah.
applying and giving it a shot?
Yeah, certainly. So, I am into marketing. So, I hire for digital marketing roles, as the question was about what kind of roles I hire. I understand that people from all cohorts are a part of this webinar, right? So yeah. So for all of them, right? So Amazon has roles or as either analyst or specialists. That's where we kind of start. It's not the starter role, it's probably a level 4 kind of a role. So it starts from level 2. So level 2, level 3 is for people who are out of engineering colleges, or probably people who are out of arts colleges, so on and so forth. And from a level 4 kind of a role is where people can start applying from a management role perspective. A lot of roles naming it as specialists in all domains, right? So let's say if it's HR, there are roles called HR specialists and all that, specifically that they can apply to. When it comes to marketing, I can be more specific. So we hire on roles by name called account managers. So this is very a common role, and there's something also called as senior account specialists. This is also another role that we hire day in day out. So these are probably the roles that are customer facing. It's a merge between sales and marketing, I would say. It's not a complete sales role or a fully market driven role. So that's where we start with. And then after which they can pivot into either of these segments and start working on. There are also roles which is specific to content marketing, email marketing. Roles of such sort are also open. So which will say that manager email marketing, manager content marketing, and all that. But these roles will expect, or these roles expectations will be that they will need to have some bit of previous or prior experience to handling some bit of email marketing before, or some bit of at least marketing before, to come into these roles. But when it comes to senior specialist roles or account manager roles and all that, they can start off with even as a fresher, understanding just the courses and understanding the market of how it works and all that. People can definitely crack these courses. Just that for before entering or before applying to any marketing courses, it will be good that people understand the reality, or what works in digital marketing, and what specifically works. Even if they are applying for, say, a tech giant, what works for them is available on the internet, or what's their working formula, or what are their courses that they offer, so that people can crack their interviews. Everything is available. So people need to know or learn these things before they apply to have an edge. Otherwise, there are a lot of folks who have learned that in the market, and they are still trying to figure out a space here. So it will be better that people equip themselves in these lines and then apply. I can also share, in case, what are the different courses that's available to you, Neerja. Probably you can circulate it to the team. Yeah, specifically to marketing, I can share the list which is available, and they can take up these courses. Everything is a free of cost, so they can take these courses. Just that they need to invest some time. It's a upcoming important skill that they will learn, and it's definitely thing that will help them on a longer run as well.
Absolutely. We will take that list, from you. There's also one question before we have, like, one or two more questions for you. And
Sure.
Veshant's question. Veshant is asking as students applying for a particular role, such as HR analytics or any other function in Amazon, are there some specific projects or courses that, they should focus on, if not marketing? I know, I think bulk of it, we've actually looked at courses, but
Yeah,
anything besides courses that you think, would give a competitive advantage? Because with you, it was more like, your entire personality and the desire to learn, upskill yourself, and the ability, and like you beautifully said a while back, that the AQ, the adversity quotient, how willing are you able to bounce back when you narrate those failures? That is something which is of
right,
famous sense. So maybe like it shouldn't be sounding like, oh, Amazon equals to just doing these courses. I think that shouldn't be the case
right.
at all. Right. So anything that you'd like to highlight over here?
So as I already pointed out, right? So for any domain, I mean, since I'm in marketing, I was talking more about it, but any domain you take it, like say HR or finance or analytics or supply chain or whatever it is, any domain, there's if they have a relevant mm, program or a project that they have done in prayer that they could highlight and talk about. In a very crisp or a clear manner, that will be more than enough. Nobody expects people out of college to have handled millions of dollars of revenue or would have solved strategical problems. No, people don't expect that. At least people have a clear expectation that, okay, this person is out of college, and what I can expect out of him is how could they think strategically. That's how much they expect, right? So, in order to show them how are you able to think strategically, if you are able to put it in a form of a narrative. So let's say if it's analytics, so if they had been developing, say, even a small macro per se to solve a smaller problem or automating a smaller piece, if they have done it in the past, articulating it in a way that there was a problem of say X, and I addressed the problem with my solution, and my solution was this, and what all did I do to arrive at my solution, and what was the result? The result was such that it was used by so and so people, or it will be useful to X and Y Z of population, and what will it solve for an organization, or what will it solve even for a normal customer, is something they should be able to articulate and explain. That's how much is expected. There's anything, so any field or any domain, this is how much is expected. How do you approach a problem, how do you solve a problem, and how do you think strategically? This is how much they expect. So since we cannot put everything in theory in this manner, that's where I was thinking that probably they can pick some of the pieces from their previous internship experience or so, and then they could add it together and then bundle it and explain it in a manner that it needn't have to be complex at all. It can even be a very simple approach that they could have solved for. There's one misconception amongst most people who are applying for jobs is that unless you solve an extremely complex problem, you're not considered like a good fit or so. But it's not true. So even you could have solved a small problem, but how you think about solving that problem matters a lot, because it speaks volumes about um, how your thought process is, what kind of strategies you will use. You don't have to have had impacted so much of audiences and money and all that. Nothing is expected. Just how you are able to do even a small instance. Even in college, they could say that I was leading so and so program. Because of me leading this program, what had happened, and what was the impact that I was able to bring to soil. Even if they're able to quantify it to that extent, how what did they implement and what was it that they could return out of it, that's more than enough for anybody to kind of judge their capability in the company. So whether they'll be fit in the company or not.
Absolutely,
Did I
absolutely.
answer the question?
Yes, yes, indeed, indeed. Now, coming back, to a question that everybody's been very curiously waiting for, because, you take care of, the growth part, the Amazon ads part, and
Right.
Amazon truly understands, the buying behavior, purchase trends altogether, because it is, one of the largest platforms that we're talking about, the largest e-commerce platform. It's aspirational for everybody to sell their products on Amazon. So how important do you think advertisement is? Of course, it's extremely essential, because you're getting the platform where you're reaching to the right audience, you're getting that competitive edge altogether, and that is the reason people really trust you. So how is that entire experience like, and does that put a lot of burden on your shoulders, that there's too much that is on your head and your team's head altogether, or how do you deal with that? So that is also a question that a lot of people were very curious, and one direct message also that I got was around the same lines.
Okay, cool. Yeah, definitely. So today, right, for Amazon, I'll just quickly put some fascinating numbers so that it's interesting for you to listen. So, right, so for Amazon today, around 35 to 40% of the revenue comes from Amazon advertising. So that's predominantly one of the largest wings for Amazon to earn money today. And the money that we are talking is not in millions of dollars, it's billions of dollars today, right? So Amazon ads alone makes every quarter around 4 to 5 billion US dollars of growth. So last quarter we made a growth of about $4 billion increase. So today, last to last quarter to put in together, the number was around 30 to 35 billion US dollars is what the revenue that comes from advertising. So this is not even a GDP of many countries, right? So it's such a huge number. So coming to the point of how challenging it is challenging because the field is evolving, and from the time I joined to what it is today, a lot of things have changed and a lot of improvements have come. And just like how we move in our normal world with all this new generative AI coming into picture, a lot of things moving towards social and all that, right? So similarly in advertising as well, a lot of things have changed. So we have just to put it on very easy layman terms, right? So like how people sell products on Amazon, we sell ad products to our sellers. So what they can do is they will use our ad products and they will advertise their product on Amazon. So why advertising is important today is because you might have known that there are millions of sellers who are selling their products on Amazon, and the game is again very tough. So just like how it's tough to get a job, so similarly how tough it is to get an MBA admission, similarly it's very tough to sell a product also on Amazon because of the crowd or the mass that's present here. And as a customer, we all will agree that we will not want to go beyond 1 or 2 pages to make a purchase, because before that itself we get too many choices and we make a choice, we make a decision, and then we make a purchase. So the entire fight happens on the first 2 pages as to how am I able to show my brand to as many audience as possible in this first 2 pages, because the traffic there is tremendous. So like yesterday night is where we closed Prime Day for the US, and then we are getting Prime Day for India and the 20th and 21st, right? So with the amount of traffic that keeps coming in, very recently, Amazon India has about 450 million people walking in every single day. That's like massive amount of people looking at products, right? So to be in that particular space and to show your products to people, there is a dire need for people to advertise. Unless you advertise, there's no chance that people get to see the product on the top of 1 or 2 pages. So that becomes extremely critical. There is a segment called organic placement also, wherein your product organically shows up on page 1 or 2, for which your sales needs to be really huge. So, for example, if there are 100 players in a moisturizer segment, for that moisturizer segment, so if say Lakme has to show up on page 1, topping up on say Mama Earth, so Lakme has to make a sale of say 5,000, 6,000 units per month, so that they have that sort of a sales velocity to come up organically on page 1. Additionally, they need to also advertise to make sure that they are catching hold of the spot, or they are making sure that the spot is always there for them, so that whenever people want to look out for moisturizer, it's their moisturizer which comes on top of it. So it's a very I'd say it's a very tough game for even anybody who's running a D2C brand to sell on Amazon. But the reason why it's kind of flourishing is the amount of audience size. So we put up a physical store somewhere in say Delhi, Gurgaon. The amount of audience that we will fetch in is only from that particular region, wherein this is like a market where entire India can view and take up that space, and then they can buy your product. The amount of sales that they will experience from here will be multifolds compared to how they will do it in a store, brick and mortar store. And additionally, they don't have to really have to put up a store cost and everything. All that they will have to do is to stock inventory on Amazon so that it is taken care of. Even the delivery and everything is kind of taken care of by Amazon, so that it's just that they will have to look at how to push the product forward. So to do that entire thing, advertising is the key. And without advertising, people cannot sell their product. So it's a very, very important and a niche field. So anybody who's into marketing and who finds this interesting can definitely step into it, because this is just growing bigger and bigger, and it's not going out anywhere. And then there is and there will be a lot of scope for people who understand and who learn advertising, because it's not just there on Amazon. Any marketplace platform you take into consideration, say a Flipkart or an ICA or even Walmart in the US, everybody follows the same game of product advertisement, and then that's when they're able to sell the amount of product. So we having this skill will help us navigate across this industry and then take up roles in any larger conglomerate. Even let's say, for example, we look at a Unilever, who is they're everywhere. They're on all platforms. They sell like say 200, 300 products across all platforms on FMCG. So even for them, somebody who understands advertising is extremely important, because they will want to push their products effectively on these marketplaces without spending too much, and rather getting as much returns as possible from the customer. So this is like I would say like one of the I'm kind of vouching too much for my field, but I think it's the important thing that people should learn today, so that they're able to sustain and flourish as a marketer. It's very important to do performance marketing, because the money game lies here predominantly. So there's, just to put it on the incentive side, people who are in this segment generally get paid better than other segments of marketing, because the game that you influence is much bigger than people who are doing the traditional marketing game. So that's also an incentive for people in the college segment to try out this, because it's good money.
Absolutely, absolutely. 35%, that's humongous amount coming from Amazon ads itself in terms of the revenue split. Coming on, of course, like as we are moving very closely to the conclusion, but we're also wondering, how does a typical day look like? Of course, we were coordinating with you, this entire past week, and you told us now you're also sharing that it was a Prime Day in the US, so therefore your entire calendar was chock-a-block. Tell us a little bit about a typical day in your life. How does it looks like? Because a lot of times we're not able to fathom that, okay, we have this aspiration, we want to become this, but what does a typical day look like? How are you marking your week, your weekends? How does a typical day look like before we just try to get those concluding parting remarks from you?
Sure, Nirja. So no 2 days look similar to me, at least. So it's very different, but I'll try to put it in perspective, right? So the very important thing that I do before I close the week, unlike many people who do it when they start the week, is I plan the next week prior before I close the week. So it becomes crucial or extremely important, because all my meetings need to be put on place. And unless I know to plan my week on a Friday evening, it becomes very difficult for me to scale Friday from Monday, because there are generally multiple things running. The one is number of meetings that we need to attend on a day in day out basis. Second thing is we have programs that's running, and then wherein we need to write documents, which is a very crucial part of growing in Amazon, wherein any problem that happens, or any situation that we face, or any stakeholder meeting that we attend, or any leadership approval that is required, we communicate it in the form of a document writing. So we need to split our day to do document writing as well. And then we also need to work on a day-to-day tasks, like the number of projects that's happening day in day out, what is the current situation, and manage the team as to what everybody is doing, and whether things are falling in place. If there are some issues there, handle those issues, and then if there's some escalations, handle those escalations. So it's not like I can say that morning 8 o'clock I start and the evening at 5 o'clock I end. So some days it's like I work with the East, so I start my day at 8 or 9 in the morning, where I love to work with the Japan and China teams and all that. So some days I don't open my day in the morning at all. So that's when the planning comes into place, wherein I plan beforehand. I start my day only at 12 or 1 in the noon, because there'll be a lot of work that will be associated with the US, where I'll work till 11 or 12 in the night. So if I have to work in the second half, I make sure I have some time, personal time in the morning. If I start my day in the morning, I end it by 4 or 5. So there's no fixed pattern of how it actually works, but every day is a challenge, and there's a lot of learning that we do on a regular basis. And I would say that after joining this space is when I understood that how important it is to articulate and write things in perspective, because we were thinking that we were really good at writing things and all of that till we were in college. And after coming here with a lot of people giving us feedback around how things need to be business perspectively written and all of those things, we learned it through our way and still learning. Not fully done. We're still learning it as well. So a lot of learning also happens on a regular basis. We take feedback, we give feedback, and then this is how it typically gets packed. So it's like quite packed, and we plan our day accordingly. There's no working hours. I think that's one good and a bad thing. There's no specific working hours for us as such. And in the meanwhile, we go 3 days a week to office as well. So manage and go somewhere here and there and come back. So that's how
Wow,
it is.
that sounds like a daunting task altogether. Great. Now, moving towards the conclusion, even though I think it was great listening to you intently and your entire journey and story, any concluding remarks for everybody? Like I said, a lot of them are anxious also because they'll be sitting for their final placements. Some of them have
Yeah.
just, I'm also able to see Agnel, etc., starting their MBA journey. So, any last piece of advice that you'd like to give to everyone over here and who'll probably watch in the recording format? Last piece of
Sure.
advice. Yes.
Yeah, so something that I learned through my way is something I want to share it with the folks, right? So all these while, whenever I was planning to give an interview, when I was cracking college interviews and all of that, I was only trying to put myself into place and always try selling myself that I know this, I know that, I've done this, I've done that, and this is what I've done, this is what I've done, and all that. So later, when I sat on the other side of the table, is when I understood that it doesn't even matter for people sitting on the opposite side to know that what all ABC or 10 different things that you've done. All that is required is what is the impact that you have created. When we fail to share what is the impact or what is the solution that we have derived by doing all these things, the entire narrative of whatever we are trying to say is just going waste, right? So anybody who wants to kind of pick up a role or any job, or even want to do any presentation with the team, even to grab your professor's attention, it becomes, I think, extremely important to answer the question as to what is my narrative going to solve for, or what is my solution going to look like. This will actually it looks very simple, but it actually makes a huge difference because it brings in a lot of interest from the listener's perspective. And that's when the first impression starts kicking in, and then the rest is like easier to move in. So it's very important to sell yourself on interviews. I totally understand. And it is a game that even we are following even today. And it is a continuous process. But through the experience, we have learned that just barging about ourselves doesn't work. Say something or talk about a problem that you have solved with the impact that will be interesting for the opposite person to listen to. And taking that piece of thing will be very, very helpful for you to crack the interviews, something that I wanted to close it with.
Wow, beautifully said. I think it's a never-ending game. So it's not just like, one job that you'll be probably sitting and acquiring in the next 90 days. It is an endless process. And you, like I said, exemplify continuous learning, pivoting, constant pivoting. It's never stopping,
Yeah,
like you are. Of course, I didn't touch upon the last leg of entrepreneurship because, you wanted, maybe that'll be for another time altogether because you want
yeah,
to be a
figuring
little
it
more
out now.
secretive about that. We can? Sorry?
Yeah, I am figuring
Okay.
out some pieces of doing something in marketing itself. So I wanted to do both tech and marketing put together, wanted to develop a product into it. So It's in a very nascent stage. So I'm still working for Amazon, but continuing to explore in that region, which is where I want to be eventually. So with all my experience that I have on these spaces, trying to solve some problems, which is still not yet solved in the marketing space. So let's see. Hopefully it turns out well and I'm able to share that in a very concrete manner in the future.
Absolutely. That'll call for another, webinar with you that we'll love to host you and hopefully now this time in person. So please do let us know whenever you're here in NCR. We'd love
Sure.
to host you in person as well. Thanks everyone for joining. And please keep in touch with Jayalakshmi Swaminathan. She's available on LinkedIn. I hope they can reach out to you via LinkedIn as well,
Yeah,
right?
certainly.
Please feel free, to get cracking with your doubts even after the webinar. And thanks a ton. Thank you so much, Jaya. I know that, you were completely occupied, but giving us this time after a week's time, we probably scheduled it earlier, but, because of your calendar, we finally got the date. So thank you so much. Thanks so much, Arvind, for putting the entire webinar together. And thanks everyone once again.
Thank you, Nirja. Thanks, Arvind. Thanks, everybody. Bye.
Bye.
Thank you.